On the far side of the galaxy, in a peaceful world called Yather, people believed they were safe. This world was part of the Council of Sectors, a large group of alien species that worked together to keep order in the galaxy. For most people, war was something they only read about in old stories. They lived their lives in peace, trusting the Council's protection. In the capital city of Yather, a young alien girl named Lyra studied history at the Grand Academy. Her species, the Serenians, had blue skin and large, curious eyes. Unlike others in her class, Lyra didn't care much about recent politics or trade routes. She was more interested in old tales, especially the ones about humans. Humans never existed, her professor once said with a chuckle. They're just myths, no proof, no records, just old stories from forgotten times. But Lyra wasn't convinced. She had found strange pieces of information hidden deep in the ancient archives, broken records, faded symbols, and warnings in old languages. Every clue pointed to one thing: humans were real. While most people laughed at the idea, Lyra kept searching. She traveled to ancient ruins on remote moons. One day, during an expedition on a dead planet called Thalos, her scanner beeped. It had found something buried under layers of rock and sand. She and her team dug carefully and soon uncovered a large metal door. The door was covered in strange markings. At the center was a worn symbol, an image of a small blue planet with a white star behind it. Underneath were letters she had never seen before, but something about them felt familiar. She ran her fingers over the surface. The moment her hand touched the center of the symbol, the door clicked. A hidden mechanism deep inside the ground came to life. Lights glowed faintly around the edges of the door. Her team stepped back, unsure of what they had awakened. "What is this?" one of her friends asked. Lyra didn't answer. Her heart raced as the metal door slowly opened, revealing a chamber filled with strange machines and a glowing cube sitting in the center. It pulsed with soft light, almost like it was breathing. She lifted the cube, and it immediately began to hum. Then, without warning, a signal shot out into space, fast, silent, and unstoppable. Far away, deep beyond the edge of known space, a hidden human ship detected the signal. It had been sleeping for centuries, systems in standby, crew in cryosleep. Once the signal reached it, everything changed. Lights flickered, engines powered on. "The ship's," I spoke calmly. Signal confirmed. Awakening process initiated. Inside a chamber, a man's eyes slowly opened. His name was Commander Nolan. He had been part of the last human fleet dispatched before humans disappeared from the galaxy. He blinked, adjusting to the light, then checked the screen beside him. The signal had come from Thalos. Earth's emblem was still being used. Nolan smiled faintly. "Looks like it's time." Back on Yather, Lyra returned with the cube to the academy. Scientists took it from her, but they didn't understand what it was. The council was informed, but they didn't take it seriously. They believed it was just old junk from a forgotten time. Lyra tried to explain that she might have triggered something, but no one listened. "Don't waste your time with fairy tales," the academy head told her. "Focus on real history, not bedtime stories." As days passed, small things began to change. Sensors across the galaxy picked up strange movement beyond the rim. Ships went to investigate and didn't return. Communication signals were interrupted. Still, the council ignored the warnings. On the edge of council space, a small defense post noticed something huge moving slowly toward them. The officers looked at their screens in shock. A massive ship was approaching, larger than anything in the current fleet. It didn't answer hails. It didn't slow down. It just kept coming. One officer whispered, That's not one of ours." Panic started to grow, but the council didn't act quickly. They believed it was a rogue planet or some ancient machine. But Lyra knew better. She had seen the signs. The old stories spoke of ships like that, silent giants that moved with purpose. She looked up at the night sky and whispered, "They're real." Meanwhile, Commander Nolan's fleet continued to wake. Not just one ship, but hundreds, all hidden, all waiting, now rising from the dark. Humans had not disappeared. They had left, watching from afar. The myths were not myths. They were warnings. After the strange signal from Thalos, and the missing patrol ships. The Council of Sectors held a meeting in their central station. Leaders from many alien races gathered. Some were worried, others laughed. "We're wasting time," said Admiral Vorin, a tall, green-skinned warrior from the Drazak race. "There's no proof humans ever existed, and even if they did, they would be ancient by now, weak, lost, and forgotten." A calm voice replied. "You said the same about the void beasts, yet they returned." It was Counselor Mara from the Urali species, who had studied ancient galactic threats for decades. She glanced at the report on the missing ships. 6 patrol vessels gone. No wreckage. No distress signal. "That is not normal. Pirates," someone said, "or a black hole," said another. They all talked over one another until an aide entered the room holding a small tablet. "We have new footage from Outpost 97. Everyone turned silent as the lights dimmed and the footage began. A small scout ship floated in space, its sensors aimed toward a growing shadow. Then, something massive came into view. The entire room gasped. The ship on the screen was black, angular, and terrifyingly silent. It moved with strange grace, like it was alive. "What is that?" someone asked. "Enhance," Counselor Mara ordered as the image became clearer. The camera caught a faded symbol on the side of the ship. It was a small blue planet with a white star behind it. Next to it were 3 letters in Old Earth script: UEF, United Earth Fleet, Lyra whispered, watching the screen from the back of the room. No one noticed her. She had snuck in, desperate. "To hear more, pause the video," Mara said. She stared at the emblem and then looked at the others. "This is not a myth." Before anyone could respond, the video continued on its own. A burst of light came from the human ship and the scout vessels. Systems failed instantly. It drifted lifelessly in space. Then the footage cut to black. "What kind of weapon was that?" Admiral Vorin asked, uneasy now. "Energy suppression, maybe something beyond our science." One of the scientists said quietly. The room filled with silence. Far away, near the outer rim, the rest of the human fleet was already awake. Dozens of ships, some shaped like swords, others like hammers, began moving together. They had no music, no banners, only cold focus. Their mission was not revenge. It was something else, something they had prepared for long ago. On the bridge of the lead ship, Commander Nolan stood calmly. His officers were waking up one by one. Each had been in cryo-sleep for hundreds of years. Some rubbed their eyes. Others stared at the stars like seeing them for the first time. Nolan spoke to them. "We received the recall signal. The galaxy stirs again. And so, we rise again." The council grew too proud, too sure that peace meant silence. But silence is not peace, and peace without strength is fragile. His second in command, a woman named Captain Leah Stone, nodded. "Do we engage?" "Not yet," Nolan replied. "Observe. Watch if they remember honor. We do not need to fire." Back on Yather, Lyra was being questioned by Academy officials. They wanted to know everything about the artifact she found. "On Thalos, you must have triggered something," Professor Halon said. "What did you touch?" "Just a symbol," she said quietly. "I didn't know it would send a signal." "You brought danger to us all," he snapped. Lyra stood up. "Or maybe I brought truth." Outside the Academy, rumors were spreading fast. Footage of the giant ship leaked across public networks. People in marketplaces and ships watched in silence. Old songs about human warriors played again. Merchants sold carvings of ancient human armor. Children asked their parents, "Are they coming back?" A few elders nodded slowly. They were never gone. One whispered, "Only waiting." The council sent a message to the unknown ship, trying every frequency. They got no reply. Then, suddenly, a short message came back in an ancient language, translated automatically. "Earth remembers." That was all. In the skies above Yather, stargazers noticed movement. A single dot that grew larger each hour. It was not fast, it was not loud, but it came with certainty. Panic began to spread. Defense fleets were launched. The council ordered more patrols to guard key systems. Still, nothing could explain how these human ships had stayed hidden for so long. or why they had returned now. In her small room, Lyra stared at a glowing map. On her screen, it tracked the human fleet's path. She knew they were not attacking randomly. They were moving with purpose, like they were remembering something. She whispered to herself, "They're coming home." And out among the stars, the fleet kept moving, silent, powerful, and unstoppable. The sky above Yather turned strange. Stars that were once calm now seemed to flicker nervously. People watched with uneasy eyes. They had seen the leaked video, heard the message, Earth remembers. Now, fear walked among them. In the Central Council station, leaders from many alien races argued again. Some wanted to send peace messages. Others wanted to strike first. "We can't wait for them to reach our borders," Admiral Vorn shouted. "We don't even know their intentions. We must not fire unless they fire first." Counselor Mara replied, "This is not just about power. This is history waking up. Then history will burn us." Vorn snapped. Lyra was back at the academy, locked in a room. She wasn't being punished, but she wasn't exactly free either. Officials believed she knew too much. They feared she might say something that would scare the public even more. But Lyra wasn't scared. She was curious. Her fingers moved across her tablet, pulling up every old file she had collected. Images of human symbols, strange scripts, and lost maps filled her screen. Deep down, she knew the truth. The humans were not coming to destroy. They were coming to remind the galaxy of something it had forgotten. Across space, the human fleet continued its slow but steady path. At the front was a ship called the Liberator, older than any other ship, still floating, but stronger than most could imagine. Its hull had scars from ancient wars, but its core glowed with bright energy. Commander Nolan stood at the center of the bridge, eyes locked on the galaxy map. Dots of Council patrol ships were gathering like insects ahead of them. "They're preparing for battle," Captain Leah Stone said. "They will wait too long to talk and too fast to shoot," Nolan replied calmly. "Prepare the beacon." Deep inside the Liberator, a large machine powered up. It was not a weapon. It was a memory core, a beacon made to speak across light years. It didn't speak in words. It showed truth. Moments later, across the galaxy, screens blinked to life. Ships, stations, and cities received the same thing, a vision. People saw humans of the past. Not warriors, but builders. They saw humans lifting fallen aliens, sharing water, helping colonies after disasters. They saw humans not as rulers, but as protectors. The images were real, recorded long ago, and now shared again. For many, it was the first time they saw humans not as monsters from old tales, but as friends. On Yather, Lyra watched with tears in her eyes. This is what they were, she whispered. Panic started to slow. Markets quieted. People talked less about war and more about the past. Some even began to hope. But not everyone welcomed the vision. In the Council War chamber, Admiral Vorn slammed his fist down. "This is manipulation. Old recordings don't prove their kindness now. It proves they deserve a voice," Counselor Mara replied. "And we must listen." Vorn refused to wait. He sent a message to the fleet commanders of Sector Line Gamma, ordering a test strike. "We will hit one of their forward ships, small attack, just to show we're ready." Hours later, a group of sleek, fast alien warships moved toward the human fleet. They locked weapons, charged plasma, and fired at a small scout ship ahead of the Liberator. Everyone expected the human ship to explode. It didn't. The plasma blast hit something invisible and stopped mid-space. A glowing field pulsed outward. From the human scout ship, an energy shield far beyond current technology. Before the alien ships could fire again, the scout ship replied, not with weapons, but with a burst of light. Their systems shut down instantly. No harm came to the crew. The ships just stopped, floating helpless in space. Then a voice echoed on every open channel. "We ask for peace. We prepare for war. But we do not forget mercy." It was Nolan's voice. Shock spread across the council. They had never seen such control, such calm power. On Yather, people were silent. Some looked up to the stars, wondering how humans had survived and grown this strong. Back at the academy, Lyra was finally called into a private meeting with Counselor Mara. "You were right," Mara said. And now we need your help. Help. With what? Lyra asked. Help us understand them before it's too late. Outside, in the dark sky, stars shifted. The human fleet was still coming. But now, the galaxy wasn't just afraid. It was watching. The stars above the galaxy shifted as the human fleet moved closer to the center. Their formation was perfect, tight, clean, and quiet. Each ship floated like it knew its place. There was no rush, no fear. Only purpose. On the council station, alarms flashed again. More ships were spotted near the sector border. The number kept growing. It wasn't just a few vessels now. It was a fleet larger than anything the council had ever seen. Admiral Vorn's eyes narrowed. They're pushing into core space. Counselor Mara kept calm. They haven't attacked anyone. Your patrol was the one that fired first, and we were silenced in seconds, Vorn replied. We must strike harder this time, or we speak. Mara said firmly, we send someone to them, someone who understands what's happening. Who? No one here can face them. I know someone, Mara said quietly. In a small room on Yather, Lyra sat beside her open tablet, reading an old journal entry written by a human explorer long ago. The words were faded, but strong. Peace is not given by power. Peace is guarded by those who carry it with strength and heart. Just then, a message arrived. It was from Counselor Mara. Come to the station. We need you. Hours later, Lyra stood in the center of the great council hall. Tall beings from every part of the galaxy looked down at her. She was nervous, but she didn't tremble. Why me? She asked. Because you believed before any of us, Mara replied. And now we need someone who can speak to them, not as a soldier, but as a seeker of truth. Lyra took a breath. Then I'll go. A small ship was prepared for her. Fast, light, and unarmed, it would carry her straight to the edge of the human fleet. The journey took only hours, but it felt longer. Silence surrounded her. She stared at the stars, wondering if she was flying toward peace or something worse. Then she saw it. The human fleet. Hundreds of ships, lined up like a wall of stars, each one glowing with soft blue light. Some were huge like cities, others small like birds. The size didn't matter. The feeling they gave off dulled, calm, and ready. A message came through her ship's system. You are not one of theirs. Identified, Lyra answered softly. My name is Lyra. I come in peace to speak. A pause. Then the ship was pulled gently forward, guided by invisible forces toward the heart of the fleet. She landed inside the main docking bay of the Liberator, the command ship of the fleet. Armored humans stood waiting, faces calm, eyes alert. One of them stepped forward. It was Commander Nolan. Welcome, he said. Lyra bowed lightly. Thank you for not firing. You came with no weapons, he said. That speaks louder than most words. She followed him through the ship. Its halls were filled with old machines, glowing walls, and murals of Earth's past. Pictures of humans and aliens working side by side. She could feel the weight of time all around her. They reached a quiet chamber. Nolan gestured for her to sit. She did. Why did you come back? She asked. Because the galaxy forgot, he answered. Forgot the wars. The reason peace was made. We were once part of it. Then we stepped away so others could grow without fear. But now you return, because peace was turning into pride, silence into blindness, and history into fiction. Lyra looked at him closely. Do you plan to take control again? Nolan shook his head. No, we plan to remind. He tapped. A screen, and a large map appeared. Red marks showed where skirmishes were rising. Planets under hidden control. Trade routes being stolen by unseen powers. The council had ignored it all. Your leaders see shadows, he said. We see the truth. So what now? We asked to meet, face to face, council and fleet. No weapons, no threats, just talk. Lyra smiled. I'll carry your message. Before she left, Nolan handed her a small device. This is history, records of our time. Away, share them. Let truth speak. As her ship left the fleet, she looked back once more. The human ships didn't move. They waited. Back on the council station, Lyra presented the message and the device. They want peace. she said, but they will not be ignored. Counselor Mara took the device and played the first file. Images of lost planets, hidden battles, and secret corruption filled the room. The truth was hard to watch, but it was real. And it was just the beginning. Inside the council chamber, the room fell silent as the device from Commander Nolan continued to play. The screen showed forgotten battles, planets under secret control, and trade networks slowly being taken over by hidden powers. No one in the room could deny the truth. Leaders looked at each other with worried faces. This was not just about humans. Returning it was about everything the council had ignored for years. Why didn't we see this? One ambassador asked. Because we didn't want to, Counselor Mara replied softly. She turned to Lyra, who stood near the center of the room. You did well. They agreed to speak with us. Lyra nodded. Yes, they said no weapons, no guards. Just words. Some council members still looked unsure. Admiral Vorn stood with his arms crossed, his face tight with anger. How do we know this isn't a trick? Maybe they want to get close. Then strike. They could have destroyed us already, Lyra answered. They didn't. That should tell you something. After hours of debate, the council finally agreed to send a group to meet the human commanders. They chose 5 members from different species. Counselor Mara would lead the group. Lyra would go to as a bridge between both sides. A special neutral ship was prepared. It had no weapons, no shields, just communication tools and enough space for the meeting. They left quietly, with no public announcement. They didn't want fear to spread again. As the ship neared the human fleet, they were greeted by a calm message, welcome. They were guided to the same docking bay where Lyra had landed before. Humans stood in formation again, but there was no threat in their posture. Commander Nolan stepped forward, wearing a long coat with the symbol of Earth. Thank you for coming, he said. Counselor Mara replied with respect. Thank you for waiting. They walked together to a large round room deep inside the Liberator. Around the table were high-ranking officers from the human fleet. The room was quiet, heavy with tension. Commander Nolan began. We are not here to demand. We are not here to take power. But we are here to tell you what your own people want. He pressed a button, and the table lit up with images plans stolen by corrupted council members, secret deals with criminal groups, and weapons being sold to dangerous warlords. These records were collected during our silence, he said. We watched, we waited, and we hoped the galaxy would correct itself. It didn't. One council member leaned forward. And now you return to fix it? No, Nolan said. We return to remind the galaxy of what peace costs, and to stand by those who want to protect it. Counselor Mara spoke next. We accept that mistakes were made. We didn't see everything. Some of us trusted the wrong people. But we also believe in change. The room stayed quiet for a moment. Then Nolan said something that surprised everyone. We're offering support, not leadership, not control, but guidance. If the council agrees to expose the corruption and rebuild its core values, the fleet will assist you not as rulers, but as guardians. Lyra watched the faces of the council members. She could see the shift happening. Fear was turning into understanding. What do you want in return? Admiral Vorn finally asked. Nolan looked straight at him. Truth, and unity, and a promise that history will not be forgotten again. The meeting ended with a silent agreement. Nothing was signed, nothing declared out loud. But something deeper had happened. Trust had begun. As the council delegation returned to their ship, Lyra stayed behind for a moment. She looked up at Nolan. Do you think this will work? I don't know, he answered honestly. But it's better than firing the first shot. When the council members returned to Yather, they shared the truth with the public. The old legends of humans were no longer stories. They were real, and they had returned not with fire but with light. Citizens across the galaxy reacted with mixed emotions. Some were still afraid, others were amazed, but most were curious. Schools began teaching real human history again. Old texts were reprinted. The name Earth was spoken with respect for the first time in generations. Lyra stood in front of her class at the academy and told them, we were wrong to forget them. But now, we have a chance to remember the right way. Above the city, in the night sky. The human fleet still waited. They did not land. They did not conquer. They simply stood there watching, guarding, reminding the stars of a truth too long buried. Weeks passed since the council returned from the meeting with the human fleet. Across the galaxy, the mood had changed. The fear that once filled the skies was now mixed with something new respect. The human fleet still remained outside the core systems. They did not move closer. They did not send any more messages. They just waited. Their presence alone had stopped many crimes, smuggling, and pirate activity. It was like the stars themselves had become quiet. Inside the council station, investigations began. Old secrets came to light. Records that had been buried for decades were pulled out. The truth was worse than anyone had expected. One high-ranking member had been working with black market groups. Another had allowed dangerous weapons to be sent to unknown forces. Several members were removed from their positions. Their crimes were exposed to the public. Lyra watched it all unfold. She was now part of the small team that worked with Counselor Mara, helping guide peaceful talks with the human fleet. Even though she was young, her knowledge about human history gave her an important role. She often received messages from students across different worlds. Some thanked her for telling the truth. Others asked questions about Earth and the old stories they once thought were fake. But not everyone was happy. A group of warlords who had grown rich from chaos were now losing power. They sent a secret message to a small band of mercenaries, ordering them to attack one of the smaller human ships. They believed if they struck fast and escaped, it would send a message that humans were not untouchable. The mercenaries found their target near the border of the Terrax system. It was a scout ship called Echo 9, drifting alone. They launched an ambush. 3 fast ships flew in, weapons hot, and fired without warning. The energy blast hit Echo 9 and passed right through it. Confused, the mercenaries tried again, but Echo 9 was not really their. It was a projection. Before the mercenaries could retreat, several human ships appeared behind them. They had been waiting. The attackers were disabled within seconds. Their weapons stopped working. Their engines shut down. No one was harmed, but their ships were left floating. A message was sent to all systems, repeating in every major language: peace does not mean weakness. Do not test the hand that offers it. The message spread fast. The warlords who had planned the attack disappeared. No one knew where they went. Some said they fled the galaxy. On Yather, people gathered in open plazas to watch history play out. Giant screens showed human ships, images of their ancient cities, and the voice of Commander Nolan, who had now become a symbol of calm strength. He spoke again to the council through a live feed. Our goal is not to stay. Our goal is to prepare you to protect yourselves. The galaxy must stand for its own peace. But until then, we will stand with you, Counselor Mara answered with a respectful nod, and we will no longer hide. Truth, your presence woke us up. Now, we rise to do our part. At the academy, Lyra stood before a group of new students. They had come from many species. Her job was to teach them about human history and about what true leadership meant. She showed them the same old recordings, the ones she once found in ruins, and the ones the humans later gave her. She spoke of unity, of courage, and of how strength was not just power. It was knowing when not to use it. Humans were once forgotten, she said, but now they remind us that peace is something we must protect every day, not just with force, but with truth. Far above, the human fleet began to shift slowly. Their ships realigned into a new formation, one not of war, but of readiness. They still didn't land. They still didn't enter council space. They were there as watchers, as guardians, and as Lyra looked up at the stars from her window, she knew something had changed forever. Humans were no longer legends. They were the line between silence and action, between fear and hope. And now, the galaxy would never forget them again. Not through war. Not through fear, but through truth. The human fleet still waited in the outer rim, calm and silent like stars carved in metal. They had not fired first. They had not demanded power. Yet their presence had forced the council and its people to open their eyes. Inside the council station, leaders now worked harder than ever before. Corruption was being removed. New voices had joined the council, young leaders, honest workers, and teachers like Lyra, who now held a position of respect. Every planet had begun to clean up its system. Trade lanes were made fair again. Pirate groups that once ruled the edges of space were slowly being pushed back, not just by force, but by unity. A week later, a special signal came from the Liberator, the lead ship of the human fleet. It was short, clear, and serious. A threat is rising beyond the galactic edge. Unknown ships have entered dead space. We request a Joint Council Human Task Force. It wasn't an order. It was a call for help and a test of trust. The Council responded in minutes. For the first time in centuries, ships from every race gathered together, not to fight each other, but to stand side by side. They moved toward the edge of known space, where the stars grew quiet and cold. When the threat appeared, it was worse than expected. Black ships of no symbols, weapons that left no energy trails. No one knew where they came from or what they wanted. They didn't send messages. They only destroyed. But they didn't expect the wall that waited for them. The united fleet of the galaxy stood ready with the humans in front. The battle was fast and loud. Alien ships defended their own, using everything they had. Human ships moved like they were dancing between stars, their weapons sharp and silent. Together, they protected every system near the border. The enemy broke apart in less than an hour. Some escaped into the dark, but they had learned something. This galaxy was not weak. After the battle, the fleets returned. None had been lost. Damage was light. Spirits were high. On Yather, people celebrated not with parades or fire, but with quiet songs and peaceful lights. In every city, screens showed the images of ships flying together, shields touching, engines glowing. Lyra stood on a rooftop, watching the stars. Commander Nolan appeared beside her, a projection sent from his ship. "You did well," he said. "I just shared what was already there," Lyra replied with a smile. Nolan looked toward the sky. "Our mission is almost complete. This galaxy is awake again. Will you stay? Only as long as we're needed. Then we'll return to the silence." "Why silence?" she asked. "Because it's not our galaxy anymore. We just helped it find its voice." Lyra nodded. She understood. Humans had never come back to rule. They had come back to remind. Now the rest of the galaxy had taken the next step. A few days later, the human fleet prepared to leave. They held a final message broadcasted to all systems. Commander Nolan spoke one last time. "We were once called legends, forgotten, feared, misunderstood. But we are not myths. We are part of this galaxy, just like you. If you ever forget again, look to the stars. We'll be there, watching, ready, not to take control, but to protect the promise we made long ago. Peace is not given, it is chosen. And today, you chose it." As his voice faded, the fleet slowly turned. One by one, the ships jumped into deep space, their trails leaving a silver line across the stars. The galaxy watched in silence. No one spoke. No one dared to interrupt the moment. They were truly gone again, but not forgotten. Years later, schools across the galaxy taught human history with pride. Statues were built not of warriors, but of peacekeepers. The council remembered the lessons. Leaders were chosen for their honesty, not just their power. And on every world, a small symbol began to appear, a circle around a blue planet with a white star. It didn't stand for fear. It stood for strength with mercy. For truth with action. And for the day when legends came to life, not to destroy, but to save everything. And somewhere in the far stars, in the silence beyond charts, the human fleet waited again. Not to be worshipped. Not to be followed, but to keep a promise made long ago. The promise that peace, once broken, would never be ignored again.